So to do our migrations, we need to use the Package Manager console. And you'll notice that I have mine down here. To open that up, you're going to go to Tools, NuGet Package Manager, and then you are going to activate your Package Manager console. The first command that we are going to execute is the add migration command. This creates 3 files that you need in order to create the database. So when you use add migration, you need to give the migration a name. And for the first one, you typically will call it initial or initial create. So we're going to call it initial, and we're going to press enter. So what this is doing is it is creating 3 files and a folder or directory where it puts the files. So you can see the first one. Here's initial, that's what we named it. And then what you're seeing after that is a date and time stamp. And automatically it opens that file because this is probably the most important piece. It actually has 2 methods. It has an up and a down. The up method, you can see, is the one that actually creates the table, adds the columns, and seeds the table with values. The down method, if we backed out of the migration, the down method would actually remove the table. Then the initial designer is created. And this is basically information that Entity Framework uses. It's nothing that you need to change or even look at. I mean, you can if you're curious, but this is kind of an internal file for Entity Framework. Then you'll notice that we have a third file with our context followed by model snapshot. So this is kind of the current model as it is. Okay, so it's representing our current table. In the future, if we make changes, what it does is it compares the new one against this model snapshot, and then it uses that to determine what changed. So that's, in a nutshell, what those 3 files are used for. At this point, we are ready to run the update. So we're going to go update database. This is actually going to create the database. At this point, before running this command, we do not have a database. And I should mention, when you run these commands, if you see anything highlighted in red, that is bad. We do not want to see red. Usually it indicates that it didn't work. All right, so once you see done, then that would indicate that the database and table have been created. Now, you always should verify that. So we're going to go into the SQL Server Object Explorer. And if you do not have the tab next to your Solution Explorer, you can turn it on by clicking the View menu and choosing SQL Server Object Explorer. Now, when you come in here, if you have 2 local DBs like I do, the first one is for code first, and that is where your database is going to be. The second one is for database first, and we'll be using that later in the semester. So here is my files. You can see I have a fitness one in here already. I am going to refresh this. And now I can see my exercise or my movie exercise one. So if I expand that out and expand out the tables, it should see the movie table. And then if I expand it and take a look, I can see the columns and I can see my primary key. And if I right click on movies and choose view data, I can actually see that seed data. So at this point, everything looks good. I've got my columns, they look correct. I've got the seed data. So I'm going to close, and we'll just close all of these up, because my next step then is going to be to generate the controllers and the views. Now, there is a way to auto-generate everything, but we are going to manually do them. I'm actually going to also show you how to auto-generate a little bit later in this lecture.